Live free or die. Before, being a conservative meant sending federally funded shock troopers into women's bathrooms to check for evidence of litter boxes, live free or die was a state motto emblematic of the Republican, anti-government overreach vibes that set New Hampshire apart from the rest of New England. Being funny, it has also escaped containment to serve as a good way to just make fun of America or freedom extremism as a whole. Considering something you may or may not know, which is New Hampshire is Toby Fox's home, you could maybe draw parallels between this goofy-ass mantra and the themes of Deltarune's secret bosses, Spampton and Chevil. Having, no confidence in doing that myself, I won't, but have you ever considered that? I have a strong feeling you have not. Now, that may not give you confidence in what I'm about to say, but consider some other cultural aspects of where he grew up. New England is a home to black cats, casual Wiccanism in the woods, spells, incantations, homemade haunted houses that can transport you to another world, and, worst of all, terrifying blizzards and cold snowstorms that can grip an entire town in an instant, taking lives and changing names. Do you see what I'm talking about yet? So, hello, I'm not a Deltarune theorist. I don't make Deltarune videos. I'm not even that well read in Deltarune. This just started as a video where I really wanted to gush about all the amazing theories regarding Noel, with like the angel and then like the place of snow in the narrative, because I just find it really beautiful and would like more people to know about it before Thursday rolls around. But I ended up going down a different route. I kept watching more and more videos to get myself excited for this thing. I went further and further down the rabbit hole, and I kept learning more, and I kept enjoying more and more, and people never, ever stop and ask, could this be culturally specific? When I think that there are at least a couple little things that make it seem clear hometown is probably in something like New England, or at least New England is in hometown. And even if this isn't truly a proper theory, I have two things that I want to put forward to get you thinking a little bit about more of the cultural context, because if we can prove that there is New England in hometown, there is one theory that other people have already begun that I strongly would like to back up, that being the game ending in some kind of blizzard. So, I'm from New England. In fact, I'm in tindering range from where Toby grew up. I know the college near the town that he grew up in. Tons of my friends went there. It's a very interconnected place, the little kind of tri-state area we have where New Hampshire touches Mass, touches Maine. And I can speak volumes about the culture of southern New Hampshire, even though I grew up in Mass. Like, I had cousins there, I went to haunted houses there, obviously, I don't know exactly how this mysterious man grew up, though I do know people who would have gone to college with him. And I despite not knowing that, I have a couple strong suggestions that very much could have been coloring in his view of what a hometown should feel like, which point us to other directions. So, for starters, New England is a very dark and cold place. It was the birthplace of colonist US in many senses, and it was home to self-denying Puritans and the genocide of the indigenous people, which is to say there are ghosts here, and that is an understatement. There are so many ghosts and so many bad memories caked into basically everything, and the people here are appropriately chilly and introspective to match. From Stephen King to the idea of eldritch horror, this land kind of just churns out twisted minds and scary stories. Like, it is not surprising at all to me that Toby Fox came out of New England. It kind of does stuff to you. Memories of the Salem witch trials are pretty well kept alive, especially living anywhere near Salem, and this has led to a really strong Halloween culture and occult culture. It's basically subculture. There are so many people I can name in my life who write horror, or practice spells, or just make elaborate haunted houses on their own. My family used to do that. We would get seriously invested, and all of our friends and family loved it. Southern New Hampshire, and just like The sheer amount of effort that I have seen people in southern New Hampshire put into their haunted houses at places like Haunted Overload, where they work all year listening to black metal to make beautiful haunted forests full of stuff, there is so much craftsmanship that it's one of the things I am most proud of in the area. And bro was surrounded by places like this growing up. I don't know if he was into it, but if he liked spooky creepy and he lived where he lived, I think it's possible this culture had a direct impact on him. When I learned about the idea of elemental pairs from Jaru Jaru J's video on it, and he described the complicated way that puppets and cats are connected, he said something about cats being specifically tied to the occult in Deltarune that set all of my alarm bells off. That is so crazy to me. The fact that cats specifically, the cats again in Deltarune being, in my mind, mostly, besides Spampton, I guess, Catty with a Y, and the family that kind of grew out from her as the original Undertale character. Of course, Catty with an I actually studying the occult being what ties it together. When I saw there being any connection between Catty with a Y, although she is, not gothy enough according to Catty with an I, any connection between them and the dark world was getting me very, very curious. But then to see the fact that people generally believe any name you enter that gets a funny response from Gaster in the beginning is somebody going to a dark world, and there's a huge chunk of the cat family in there. Hello, it is Mello from the editing department, and I was lied to. I'm going through and gathering all my materials for this project right now, and I looked into it more, and I think somebody slipped the idea that Dad Cat was in the Gaster list by me without actually them being correct and me not thinking about that very weird fact enough. When I go looking, it's actually not there. It's actually Bratty and Catty, and Catty with an I that are in the list. That's pretty different. That's just more like the Bratty Catty thing, and then little sister. It's not a family vacation quite the same way. However, damage control, I still feel like having half of the cat's family go to a dark world makes it part of their family culture to a degree. They're one of the most dipped in dark world families at that point. And Catty is already our connection to the occult, which doesn't sever the link between her and this whole world of weirdness. And Jaru Jaru didn't actually say that they have a connection to the occult in Deltarune. They just have a connection to Spampton, which is weird in itself, but here's this. Sham is also a cat who has connections to weird fate knowledge and this kind of otherworldly magical stuff, just like Catty. Sham also is connected to Jevil, which is weird. It still seems like cats have a weird, esoteric kind of knowledge and energy in this game, and cats are connected to magic and the occult in real life, so I still stand by what I said, but yeah, I felt kind of dumb when I realized that. Somebody friggin' lied to me. I can't go back and check who did it. Somebody lied to me about Dad Cat. I was just like, I couldn't stop. Like, I'm running out of time to make this video, and I'm still just like, I'll shit it out. I need to say these words. I am really interested in that, because why? Why is Catty's family the first family house you walk by when you leave your house? Of course, in the game, that's not the first place you see, but if you look at a layout of the town, their house is right next door to the Dreamer house. It is right there in the center of town. And you can also conceptualize a lot of the town as extensions of Catty with a Y, right? Because the whole family is obviously inspired by her, including a face sprite having student Catty with an I, who's certainly going to be important based on everything we know about what students will and won't be important. But then you've got Bratty and her implied family that I don't think we've ever seen. But then you also have Burger Pants, who is the person they bullied and stuff. And it's not a surprise that Alphys and Metaton are there, but those are more characters from Hotlands that Catty had a connection with. And when you look at it that way, it's almost like they dropped Catty into a petri dish and she just expanded to make a huge chunk of hometown. Like, Hotlands is so well represented in a way that something even more classic Undertale like Snowdin Town simply isn't. So why is Catty right at the center of all of this? And why do I specifically care? Basically, there's a switch you can flip that will turn all of these cats, this whole cat family, into sort of symbols of the occult, and it's going to be flipped probably on Thursday in Chapter 4. There are 3 families that are well fleshed out in this town. They have sprites, you can talk to them, and they're, once you notice it, decently well connected to Chris. There's Chris's own family, right? The Dreamer household. Then there's the Holiday family, which any video on the internet will tell you is very important to Chris, and thus, the story. The cat family is also right next door, and we don't have a special connection with them besides the fact that, both of the catties have some, bond with Chris and their brother. But think about it this way. The holidays are constantly reminiscent of real-world Christianity. There are the Christmas ones, there's the angel, there's the Jesus symbolism and Noel. There's a lot of real-world Christianity stuff there. Then, Toriel is a very religious character, but she's very devout to the in-game religion. In Undertale, she had the Deltarune symbol on her. In this game, she's just like a church mom and does hymn books and stuff like that, which is to say she's worshiping like the angel or whatever they do down at the Turtle Dude's church down the street. However, I am pretty confident, I think we're all saying that the cat family does go to church and is going to church. However, they're going to a dark world. I think we all know they're going to a dark world. How else are you going to get the whole cat family into a dark world unless they are in the church chapter talking through this whole world of dark world stuff? It's so natural because every family would touch on a different part of spirituality or, vague mysticism in this town. Christianity and real world stuff, in-game religion, and the darker stuff, the dark world, the concept of if Gaster is a sort of Satan figure with all of the 666 values and existing a couple layers beneath reality versus above reality, the way that the angel exists in maybe a higher plane or is striving to a higher plane or something, they're looking up to it. Gaster is kind of down, dark worlds are always down, he's darker than dark. Anything connected to the dark worlds and Gaster and the Void would be this kind of third kind of mysticism, I would say. And Caddy is kind of poking at that a little bit. It seems like Noelle has already touched it, and Chris is just freaking full of it. So if you needed a whole family to start to connect the entire town to dark worlds, it's probably going to be the cat family. It would be easy to believe them all going down there. We know Caddy's going to go down there. And the church would be a really good way to just start bringing tons of people into the dark world. So even if it's just Catty with an eye herself who goes in, there's going to be a connection between these cats and the occult. And people have already been catching on to that. That's relevant because they are so fucking New England. Here is the point. I think that Catty with a Y was placed right in the center of this town and expanded to develop more of a Catty-centric world in the town because having a spooky black cat family with a goth daughter who they fully support as she actively tries to summon demons and stuff is ridiculously New England, and it probably, based on my Tinder time during lockdown COVID, seeing girl after girl after girl from where Toby Fox grew up, made it just kind of feel more like where he lived. This is where you just kind of have to trust me on vibes, like a family of somewhat normal, somewhat weird people who have a demon summoning daughter that they just wholeheartedly support and have casual hobbies like music on their own. Yeah, they're listening to Rob Zombie on the weekends. Someone's probably attempted to create a haunted house or write a novel or something. This is just kind of how people are in New England. This family, once you look at it from the angle of they are directly connected, or at least willing to dabble in the occult, and they have one member of the family who's actively connecting it to it, and they're probably going on a spooky adventure. Yeah, it's just a switch. They could easily become a family that bonds over the occult. It just seems so clear, and that is what my family does. That is what maybe Toby's cousins do. It's just a thing. I just feel like once you make them kind of the Dark World family, who are not explicitly tied to anything else, like the Christmas or the Deltarune type of in-universe religion, they could kind of just look like the Dark World family once they've all gone together, and once Caddy serves as a grounding medium who actually somewhat understands the boundary between reality and the Dark World, I feel like you have something that is just kind of New England. I don't know. It just feels very casually spooky and mystic and just kind of like superstitious. And that might have been one of the ways that he wanted to make hometown feel more like his hometown, because there's not a lot, but we also don't have a lot of culture in New England. That's just kind of how it is. There's the beautiful leaves on the trees. That's like basically the one thing you could say. Like, tell me something about Deltarune's hometown. It has yellow foliage. Well, same thing with New England. That's like one of our only things we have. I'm sure if you dug, you could find more connections, but I don't know, just having a solid chunk of the town be taken up by people who either are intrinsically tied to the Dark World by a natural curiosity, or have actively gone there themselves in the case of the Dreamers and the Holidays. This whole town doing dark magic in the suburbs or the sticks or whatever is just so New England. Like, you could plop it anywhere on the map. And I think that that is my main offering to people who are trying to look for other connections. Like, I don't know, bunch of black cats who do witchcraft, I think that's very culturally specific. And that is fun, and it's cute, and you can kind of decorate the whole town with these little nods to real life. But why does it matter? Because New England gets snow. The nor'easter theory suggests that there is reason to believe Toby would find blizzards and snow scarier and more ominous and foreboding and frightening than the average person, making them a really good motif for the scariest, darkest stuff in his game. Having grown up at about the same time in basically the same place, I can say one of the only natural disasters that would have frightened him as a kid would be an ice storm. And if you were told that he had some life-changing experience, comes out in an interview in 2029 after the game is out, where like his dog got out of the house and died in the snow and he saw the body or something, would that surprise you at all after Snowgrave? Like, the Snowgrave thing is so creepy, and in a post-Snowgrave world, when a lot of signs point to Noelle maybe being the only person who is going to be involved in this kind of thing, I think we should seriously have all eyes on blizzards, and I'm offering the cultural perspective as to why. Now, we finally get to my favorite stuff, the reason I did all of this. Choco Fox 7's Winter Wonderland theory, and the idea that Snowgrave suggests that if Noelle were to create a perfect world to escape into, leading to a roaring or something, it would be a wintry wonderland. This is an endgame theory, so feel free to bail. I mean, people are getting very confident about this shit. I know there's the bunker, but Snowy Festival, bunker, something or other, like, I do not think we're missing Noelle in the endgame, so this is your last chance to flee. Basically, Noelle gets very, very special treatment in this game. There's been line stickers ever since Chapter 1, where a couple students from the classroom who have face sprites, talk sprites that allow them to look a little bit more important than the other students, have line stickers, Catty and Jockington and Birdley. Birdley's now been in a chapter, he's been important. It pretty much locks in Catty with an eye and Jockington for future relevance. Noelle got like 4 stickers, and one of them foreshadowed Snowgrave. So Noelle, between popping up in concept art and being programmed as a playable character in a way that we may or may not see again, she is getting very special treatment. People are turning like crazy on her as an unsuspecting candidate for final boss or something like that. I'm not saying that she's going to be evil, but I have a very particular vision of how I expect the endgame to go that I've been getting from other people based on all of these signs. I mean, maybe we're going to get a playable Catty for some weird route chapter 4 thing where something like a Fakey McFake's joke about Dark Coffin being Catty's version of Snowgrave. Like, maybe we're gonna push her to do Dark Coffin on Jockington in Chapter 4 Weird Road, but I don't know. I'm starting to believe that after Thursday, we're not gonna have another playable character besides Noelle, and it's kind of like the Sephiroth thing. Like, if you have this major of a friendly character that, like, doesn't fully stick in the party, it serves to believe that they can end up becoming a major villain or something like that. And it's even if she's not an evil villain, oh my goodness, there are things that I would like to see about the Noelle endgame that I will go on a tangent about. Final boss Noelle goes so hard. It fits so perfectly in my mind. While Susie and Chris's worlds are rapidly getting better and expanding during the course of this 2-day period because they're making friends, which is kind of all they need, Noelle's is only shrinking. I don't personally believe that Rudy is going to specifically die this weekend. That would mean that Chapter 7 is awake Dark World or something, but her dad is in a rough way. Universal mother theory suggests that she needs to stand up against issues with her mom, who treats her the way that Queen treated her, which is shitty, and her sister is straight up missing, giving her a constant, kind of real, painfully, bargainy sort of desire to look for her. Now that she knows about the Dark Worlds, she's probably never going to stop looking for her. It's been said many times, many ways, but Happy, most connected to the theme of escapism and likely to go off the deep end and cause the roaring to Noelle Holiday. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Once she realizes that Dark Worlds are not a dream, she might get the sense that getting her dad into one could help him be healthy and stronger, and keeping him there could mean that he never has to die. If she believes she can find death somewhere in a Dark World, or if, God forbid, she's stuck in the Dark World, she's probably gonna want to be there forever. And if she is to make a Dark World that is supposed to freeze time and keep things just like she always knew it, I bet you anything it's gonna be snow-themed. I mean, it doesn't take a genius, you know? If she's making her own Dark World strictly because she wants to escape, it's gonna be a big winter wonderland, you know? A good one might be Christmas themed and pleasant. It's weird how likely we are to get some kind of Christmas hospital Dark World at some point. A scary one could be an all-consuming blizzard, because there is something called the Angel's Heaven in this world. There is the Angel's Heaven, and the reason, according to prophecy, that the three heroes must gather and fight under the power of the Delta Moon, or whatever, is to banish something called the Angel's Heaven. The angel in SparkNotes is something that the in-world religion worships, and you can see it in the core symbol of the Deltarune. You have those three triangles for the heroes facing a little thing with wings that is the angel. And because the angel has a kind of higher power, people sometimes theorize that it could be the player, like literally us, and that the angel's heaven would be connected to us somehow. However, Noelle has a lot of connections of her own to the player character. There's pretty much a direct contact between them and Snowgrave, even though it's very uncanny because we're making Chris do this uncomfortable stuff to make her get stronger. But even putting the actual player to Noelle connection aside, when she's not being just the polite, cute, smart girl, all we know about her is she fucks around with games and pushes them till she finds scary things, and she's very, very determined to find her sister, based on evidence like the search results in Queen's room for her is implying that she's just constantly looking for her sister. She is very determined, as hinted at by Queen, and she loves to mess with things and find interesting things, so she is so likely to keep pushing and try to find her sister, and she is very likely to use Dark Worlds to get to that point. And if she's gone that far and maybe started to open up Dark Worlds simply to look for deaths, then there's not much stopping her from creating Dark World after Dark World after Dark World if she becomes unstable enough and just causing the roaring, you know? Even if the roaring isn't the Angel's Heaven necessarily, An angel's heaven for her would be something like a perfect frozen winter wonderland, and that, I predict, would be the final endgame content of Deltarune. Whether it's chapter 6 and, on this special holiday thing that Asriel's coming home for, causing the festival, we get a turn from like a Thanksgiving festival into actually it's all snow and it's Christmas now in chapter 6, but then we go to the bunker in chapter 7. I don't know exactly about that, but it seems like the idea of Noelle fighting the party is strongly presented as one of the final things. There are symbols of this. In concept art for Snowdin Town that people have been passing around in these videos, there is something where a flying creature with wings, like an angel-y creature, is fighting a big lizard, perfectly paralleling the Ferris wheel conversation where Noelle says, if I could do anything, I would grow big angel wings and fly over the town, while Susie says I would become a giant kaiju. It seems so likely that this is part of the vision Toby had for the finale, and Susie becoming a giant kaiju to fight Noelle, she's our horse in the race. Like, she's the person that, Chris or Ralsei or whoever are fighting alongside to deal with this super powerful Noelle who's become full angel and is now using her snow power to create an endless blizzard or whatever to destroy the whole world. It's so obvious. And the best thing about this is that it perfectly captures the themes of the game. Because at this point, Susie is somebody who has endured the worst that the world has to offer and still chooses to live. If she's fighting Noelle, she's fighting against Noelle's desire to live in fantasy forever. Noelle obviously is just creating this to escape from reality, but Susie is fighting her to bring her back to reality because Noelle has good things in reality, and Susie could be one of those things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she loves Susie. Susie is a thing that could be a part of Noelle's life to kind of fill the gap after her family is all fucked up and, Rudy dies, and if Des is truly gone and her mom sucks, like, well, you have your friends and you have your girlfriend or something maybe. And that is an amazing concept for a final battle. So what is the set dressing for that? It's the blizzard, it's the snow, it's the roaring, it's the angel's heaven. It makes so much sense that she would create this. And to just kind of like bonk you over the head one last time, I mentioned there's not much Snowdin Town. There's been very little snow at all outside of Snowgrave. Snowdin Town was the easiest, cute little nostalgic throwback to Undertale fans. Everybody gets there. There's cute stuff. There's Grillbees. There's like the bunnies. There's the dogs. We love Snowdin Town. There's no Snowdin Town. There is such little Snowdin Town in terms of like returning characters and stuff. Besides like Sans and Papyrus and a couple random ass things. Like, it's so underrepresented compared to Hotlands when you look at this town. Because snow is so much scarier in Deltarune, and I genuinely think that Snow and Noelle kind of leaning into her powers to get stronger and stronger and eventually just enact her will and create her heaven is part of the endgame, meaning the finale of Deltarune will be a cold one. And to one-up or to yes and the whole Bluebird, Newbird, Winter Wonderland theory, I present you a line from White Christmas. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. A white Christmas is a Christmas full of snow. Snow, yes, we got that. Dreaming, hopes and dreams, light and dark. I'm dreaming of anything already could be a euphemism for creating a dark world. I'm dreaming, that's my will. Dreaming, darkness, my creation. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. I'm creating a winter dark world. Just like the ones I used to know. When my family wasn't all fucked up. That is the angel's heaven to me. And that is so scary if you grew up in New England. So, ice is scary. Snow is scary. Snow isn't cute and cozy. Snow is the ice shock spell that leaves bodies around. It makes you go, what the fuck did I just do? And then stop doing that when you accidentally discover something snow gravy. Noelle is said to stand in front of the cooler And there are people who theorize that this might be because freaking Des died in a blizzard. There's what's his name, Bandit Gamer or somebody. There's somebody who is putting together the whole like she went missing in a blizzard, and that's when Rudy got injured, and that's how Azrael lost his rank as chief of police. Like, there's all this stuff. Like, I swear I even saw somebody say that maybe Noelle created the blizzard because of the magic that Caddy taught her or something or other. Like, she likes scary stuff, and she stands in front of the freezer. Does the cold scare her? I don't know, but obviously, as of the after effects of Snowgrave, ice is creepy. Ice is scary, and I think we should all be watching Ice. My reasoning is not just this textual analysis, but also Toby Fox didn't know much that was scary besides the dark, ghosts, spirits, and ice. That's literally New England, so signing off now. Happy Nor'easter theory to everybody. The more that you can prove hometown is New England, the more likely it is it's gonna get hit by a blizzard.